Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at some recent sales for graded Star Wars trading cards. I've got BGS Beckett, I've got some CGC cards, and then obviously mainly PSA graded trading cards. Everything from cool art styles, the stuff that caught my eye, to autographs. I got a couple of vintage cards here. But just in general, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the types of items I've been looking at. I haven't pulled the trigger on any of these Star Wars cards. I have been buying a few sports cards, mainly autographs, things like that. But these cards caught my eye, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about them, see what you guys think, what you're collecting. And I wanted to point out Star Wars #1 from 1977, the rookie card for Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. Obviously, in very high grade, this is a very expensive card. And about as high as you usually see on eBay is about a PSA 8. Very occasionally, you'll see a PSA 9. I've never seen a PSA 10 on eBay. I don't think it's the right channel or the right avenue to sell such a high-end card. It's probably going to be on one of the big auction houses for a PSA 10, just given how rare it is. I don't even know how many there are in the population report. But the good thing is we can look it up, because the one thing that I love, as you guys know, is data. And when it comes to PSA graded trading cards, the transparency is really nice. For a lot of sellers, they link to the population report directly on PSA's population report. And so you can click a quick link and check out the entire PSA population report for any given card. And for Star Wars #1, Luke Skywalker, there are 9 PSA 10s. There's 89 9. So that's probably the ideal number, right? If you're kind of investing in this stuff, would be to go for a PSA 9, just given the scarcity of a 10 and how infrequently it will ever come up for sale, and for how expensive it'll be. It'll probably cost you about the down payment of a house. And so a PSA 9 or maybe an 8, or probably about as high as you want to go or aim for, just given the scarcity of PSA 9s. Now, or of PSA 10s, excuse me. The other great thing is that, you know, eBay data really only goes back about 3 months when it comes to closed auctions. But PSA's website, they go back as far as they can. I mean, it's pretty incredible. They got 10 or 15 years of data, and you can see the bell curve during the COVID years where prices just went completely insane for every collectible. And now they've kind of come back down. And for certain cards, depending on what you're buying, they're starting to creep back up again. And obviously the big sports names, those are all creeping up a lot. I mean, they are moving up very dramatically. Whether it's Jordan, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, you know, some of those really, really big names out there in sports, their cards are starting to get on the upswing again after crashing from COVID. So that's one of the phenomenon that is pretty common for a lot of the price graphs that you'll see on PSA's website. But I encourage you to go on the PSA website. If you go to PSA's website and go to auction or price research, I think is the tab, you've got all the data you could ever imagine for whatever card you're looking at. And it's pretty helpful in an auction, especially, or in a buy it now, to make sure they're not, you know, overcharging you, which is happening a lot right now, just given the upswing in prices. But, you know, for certain cards, what the price that it sold for in June of this year is not the price that it goes for in September, October of this year. You know, even for some of the cards that I've been looking at, it's pretty incredible the run-up we've seen. So it's definitely on the upswing for certain cards. Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to point out on this one, so this was a PSA 8 auction, $918 was the final sales price. Now, when you compare it to one that is autographed by Mark Hamill, that is clearly in worse condition, right? It's got a lot of edge wear to this card. But a lot of people will submit an autographed card and only get an auto grade. So that's why it says auto 8, right? And my opinion is that I would rather have, if I'm all else being equal, I would rather have the PSA 8 clean card where they're actually grading the card condition for $918 versus this one which has a lot of damage. I mean, this card is pretty beat up if you look at the bottom of the card here. I mean, this is a really beat up card. Now, admittedly, it's signed by Mark Hamill, but it's sold for $15.95. And, you know, given that the card is pretty beat up, I would personally rather spend that kind of money on a higher grade modern card versus one of these vintage. You know, this is a investment grade card in higher grade. And, you know, to get it in a PSA 8 for $9.18 versus $15.95 for a beat up card, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to pay that kind of price. That's my personal opinion. Other people will disagree with that, but I don't see the point of buying a beat up card with an autograph and paying $1,600. There's easier, cheaper, more less expensive, more aesthetically pleasing ways to get Mark Hamill's signature. But as you'll see later on here, I mean, there was a modern card signed by Mark Hamill that sold for huge money. But I have seen some that are relatively affordable, certainly much more affordable than $1,600. Here was an interesting one. I just wanted to point this out because it was pretty cool. These are from the Italian Panini line. These are stickers for Princess Leia. And so one sticker was her top half. The other sticker was her bottom half, and this was a sale for both of them together, as they should be sold together if you have both of them. One was a PSA 8, one was a PSA 9. They're from 1977, but just an interesting sale to see both of those together for $250. Pretty cool, and those are Italian too, so it's kind of cool to have, you know, a foreign item. And let's see if the backs have. Yeah, so the backs do have the Italian language on it. Well, they have multiple languages on there. It looks like they got English, French, Italian, probably some German German on there. So pretty cool to see those sell for $250 for the pair. And the other interesting thing that you will see that I would not recommend doing is a lot of people have these custom trading cards where they have gotten Natalie Portman's signature in this example on a piece of paper or a sticker, and they just slap it on this fake or custom card. And then they send it to Beckett just to get the autograph authenticated. They obviously can't grade it because it's just a custom. I wouldn't pay $237.50 for that. Why don't you get her signature on an actual true trading card where the card is graded and everything like that? Because you don't have to pay that much more, in my opinion, for one of those. And maybe I'm incorrect there, but I feel like her signature is not that difficult to find. I feel like I see her signature on trading cards quite a bit, certainly on comics and other things too. So to me, I would rather spend that money and put it towards a real trading card versus a custom where it's just got her sticker on a custom card. I thought this was a good deal. This is a Beckett card. And, you know, with Beckett, they do have subgrades similar to what Mint on cards for our action figures. And this one had 10 for centering, 9.5, 9.5, 9. Overall, 9.5 gem mint. A 9.5 usually would be like a PSA 10. Maybe not always, because it's got a 9 subscore for the corners. So maybe it gets the PSA 9 because of the corners. But usually when you get 9.5s, for some of this, for all the sub scores and maybe a 10 or 2, it will get the 9.5 overall, but unless you've got at least 310 sub scores. And so the prices can, you know, I would say this is probably comparable to a PSA 9, maybe a 10. I don't know. I think a 10 is probably would probably be slightly more expensive than this, but pretty nice Saw Gerrera autograph, $400, and some other BGS items. I thought this was a cool card that, you know, obviously it's been done to death with the reflection in Vader's mask, but this was the Tantive 4 scene where he's trying to get to the Death Star plans and he's choking out the Rebel Fleet Trooper. So I just thought that was an awesome looking card. That one sold for $600. That one was called the Hyperspace Reflections Lord Vader. Very cool. And that one had 210 subscores on that one. So very nice card there. Next up was a Daisy Ridley signed Rey card. This was a 9.5 from Beckett with a 10 autograph score. That one sold for $22.50, which seems like a lot of money. But, you know, it all comes down to what card it is, what the numbering is on the card. You know, I don't see a number on this one at first blush. But, you know, a lot of these modern cards, they can be very difficult to track down, and people will pay some big boy money for certain autographs. You know, I'm not saying that this is the greatest card in the world, because it's kind of an ugly card. It's called Cinema Stars, but it is signed by Mark Hamill. It's a CGC 8.5 that sold for $400 or best offer. Now, typically, if I'm going to get Mark Hamill's signature, I'd rather have him in Star Wars gear versus him walking the red carpet at an award show of some sort. So that's why it was so inexpensive. But you know, I just want to at least point out there are easier ways to get Mark Hamill's signature and cheaper ways. Next up was some other CGC cards. This was a Cad Bane. I thought this was a good deal. It was a Gem Mint 10 from CGC. There's not a ton of CGC inventory for really any trading cards. They're kind of new to the game, but they are starting to get some inventory on eBay here and there. But this was a Cad Bane signature. This was Dorian Kingi, whoever that is. I'm assuming he voiced... He voiced a performer for Cad Bane. This was a 1 of 25 card as well. And it was a Gem Mint 10 from CGC, and he got for $42. I mean, that's a really inexpensive way to collect a pretty awesome card, really. I mean, that's a really nice card for Cad Bane, and it's got the signature for the actor, and it's $42 plus shipping. That's not a terrible deal. And then here is Rosario Dawson signed. This is a rainbow foil for Rosario Dawson. Again, Gem Mint 10. This is number 42 of 50, so this is 1 of 50. Great looking card there with a lot of rainbow going on there and a kind of a refractor foil effect at the bottom of the card. And that one sold for bigger money, obviously $260.66, just given that it's Rosario Dawson. But another beautiful card there. I thought it was well worth the money. And then on to some maybe, you know, a few that I just thought were kind of artistic and caught my eye. Fairly low pop cards. This was an Ahsoka, Journey of Ahsoka. So there's a number of cards in this Star Wars Galaxy set. But this was a Gem Mint 10, 1 of 14. And I just love the card art on that one. It's just a beautiful card. And there are a number of different ones. But this one was done by Dave Filoni as well, which adds a little bit of gravitas to it and some value there. So beautiful card. That one sold for $199. And again, it was a pop 14. This is another one I really liked. I don't know much about these Star Wars Galaxy cards other than I know what I like. And this is some cool looking art. And this is another card that was 1 of 25. There's only 3 of these on the 7 total on the population report, 3 PSA 10s, but that's a beautiful Vader unplugged purple refractor. That's just an awesome looking card. That sold for $152.50. And I wanted to kind of circle back to the vintage Kenner days. We obviously have seen this image on a lot of card backs for C-3PO and R2-D2. And this is a vintage Star Wars Hero action figures card, red refractor. This is a PSA 9 pop 1, 2 total in the population report, and that one sold for $350. But I thought that was a great looking card there, and obviously a very low manufacturing run. And this is only 1 of 5 cards that were produced with this red refractor effect. So nice card there. This was another one that caught my eye. This is a Darth Vader film cell relic. So it's got a little film cell in there showing where Vader kind of tosses Luke through the Bespin gantry. And I don't know if these are like original copies of the cell or what, but I just thought it looked cool. And you see these sometimes for sports cards as well, where it's got a little cell for the action shot for whatever athlete. But I just thought that was a great looking card. And that was a PSA 9, pop 2, total 3 in the population report, and that one sold for $250, best offer accepted. Here was that one I had in the what to buy video, and you know, to get Hayden Christensen's signature in a really nice bright silver or white on that card, and this is a pop 2 card, total pop 2, PSA 9. That one sold for $360 on 32 bids, but I just thought it was a great looking card. He's like doing the double wielding lightsabers there, and it just looks awesome. So another really great signature. That's a signature I'd like to get at some point, is Hayden Christensen. Next up, this was a triple sign card for Poe Dameron, obviously Oscar Isaacs, Zori Bliss, who is Kerry Russell, and then obviously Daisy Ridley. So you got 3 of the heroes from the sequel trilogy. That one sold in an auction for $640. That one was a mint 9. Very cool looking card there with triple signature. And then here is another Daisy Ridley card, and we saw that one that sold for like over $2,000. This one is a 1 of 25 Hyperlanes Refractor, signed by Daisy Ridley, Gem Mint 10, and that sold for $676. That's probably about as cheap as you're going to get for her. I might have seen a couple in the 4s, but it seems like, for any of these refractors that are 1 of 25 or 1 of 10, you have to pay a little bit of money for those. So $676. And Samuel L. Jackson, same way. This was a Gem Mint 10 autograph. That one was PSA 10, Pop 8. And he is an expensive signature on comic books or on trading cards. And that was a nice looking card there. That one sold for $680 in a buy it now situation. And then finally, here is that Mark Hamill. I mean, this is, I guess, going to what I was trying to say. But, when it's 1 of 10... and it's a Pop 3 for a PSA 9 and total 5, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. But I still was not expecting it to go this high. This is a big number at $33.77 for a mint 9 PSA Mark Hamill signature. And again, it's a 1 of 10 card, so I get it, but it's just a lot of dough for his signature. There's certainly less expensive ways to get it, but a lot of it's just the fact that the card is so rare. Being, the manufactured scarcity on some of these modern cards, and this is one of them. But it certainly is a beautiful card. Luke in his Jedi Knight outfit. It looks like he's in Jabba the Hutt's palace, but I don't know if I'd pay that kind of money. That's a big number, but I did want to show it because I believe I had this one in a what to buy video as well, and I was not expecting it to go that high. That was a huge number. Anyway, that's all I really had for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.